Week 5 injury impact. Let's get this money. Let's get these Benjamins. And I feel like it's pretty straightforward this week. So let's just kind of knock out some of these top ones where we want to keep in mind as we're making lineups. Number one, even though it's not one of my favorite spots or one of my favorite games, running backs, it doesn't really matter for running backs as long as they're getting the touches. And with Nick Chubb out, and we know the type of player Kareem Hunt is, I'm not freaking out about the workload last week. Remember, last week he was on the injury report and was supposed to be limited last week with, I believe it was a groin injury. No injury designation whatsoever going into this week. He's 100% healthy. He's about to carry the load. And the Colts linebacker stud Darius Leonard is out, and that's huge. Not to mention their left tackle is out, Anthony Costanzo, which helps the Browns defense, should help the Browns all around. And this is a really, really good spot for Kareem Hunt. I don't care about, again, like I said, whether it's one of my favorite games or not. At the end of the day, for running backs, that doesn't necessarily matter. As long as they're getting the touches, as long as they're getting the touchdown opportunities, and as long as they're involved in the passing game, which Kareem Hunt usually is. And again, we know the type of player he is. Significant development. Really tough to leave him out of really any lineups, whether it's cash or tournaments. Sam Darnold is out, and their left tackle, Mekhi Becton, we can make a whole video about how dumb Adam Gase is. Everybody knows. They put in Becton last week. He got more hurt, it sounds like. Neither one of them, it sounds like, are going to play. This is the Joe Flacco-led Jets, and that, we have to laugh. That's hilarious. So Cardinals defense, lock it in 100%. Julio Jones sounds like he's not going to play. So obviously Calvin Ridley, who's been a beast outside of last week, Russell Gage, Zacchaeus, I don't even know how to say his full name, so I'm just going to go with that. And then even Christian Blake getting a little bit of run. But obviously those top guys in Hayden Hurst, all interesting in one of my favorite spots, actually my favorite game of the week, in a good spot against the Panthers. So there's definitely cases to be made for all of these guys, especially Zacchaeus, who's getting a lot of run. I believe saw 9 targets last week. The Jags defense is banged up, and this is extremely notable because we know the Jaguars defense sucks. We know Bill O'Brien, the donk, is gone. So Deshaun Watson probably about to ball out. This is a good spot to have him in tournaments, stack him with Will Fuller, maybe even Brandon Cooks get crazy. He played a ton last week, didn't catch any passes, unfortunately. But I say all that because their defensive end, Josh Allen, sounds like he's not going to play. And less pressure on Watson means more plays for Watson. And then their cornerback, C.J. Henderson, and their linebacker, Miles Jack, are both questionable as well. Sounds like both will play. Both got in some limited practices. But in the surprising case that they're out, that makes this spot even that much more juicy. And that's pretty much it. We just have to remind ourselves and remember that Christian McCaffrey is out again, and he's such a good player, the best running back in football. We have to remember that makes Mike Davis interesting again because their backup, Reggie Bonifant, I think, he actually played a decent amount of snaps last week. He's on IR now. Mike Davis is the guy again in a great matchup against the Falcons. Falcons this year have actually been a little bit they've been okay against the run, and they've been diced up. Obviously, we saw the Tanyan show on Monday night. Aaron Rodgers, so good. They've been diced up in the passing game. So because no Christian McCaffrey, because Mike Davis isn't somebody that an offense wants to lean on, Teddy Bridgewater stacks with not only Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore together. Yeah, there's a lot of credence to that, and then to run it back with a Falcons pass catcher makes a lot of sense as well. And that's pretty much it. The Dallas offensive line is pretty banged up. Tyron Smith isn't going to play. They were already without Travis Frederick, who retired. They're already without Lyle Collins, who's on IR. I believe their backup center, Joe Looney, isn't going to play. But we have to ask ourselves, does that 100% necessarily matter against the Giants? The Giants' front is decent, but their team overall, their defense overall isn't. And so, this should be able to be the Dak show no matter what. So I'm not putting as much significance on that injury. This should be a game where, yes, those offensive line issues are going to matter plenty. But I don't know if a spot at home against an awful Giants team who's only scored 3 touchdowns on the entire year when everybody else in the league has scored at least 6 and doubled them up, even though their defense has been okay. We're talking about the Cowboys offense, and this should be a boat race here for the Cowboys. They should be able to do whatever they want, even though the offensive line is banged up. So at the end of the day, not putting as much weight on that as the others that we already discussed. Happy week 5, everybody.